So welcome everyone. Today's session we are going to talk about the video production side and also the video editing side. So if you have any questions, you can always ask me anywhere in the presentation. So I believe we should begin with that right now. Making your first video using free tools is very simple, and I'll just walk you through all the processes from the production side, from the pre-production side, from the post-production side. So as I said, there are 3 P's in creating a video. First is pre-production. Conceptualizing, planning, scripting all goes into this part. For example, you have to make a video. You have to know what you're wanting to make. You have to script it at least a little. You have to have a mindset of what you want exactly in that video. So planning where you want to shoot it and conceptualizing the format. Do you want it in text? Do you want yourself presenting it? All that goes into the pre-production side of it. Beyond that, the production side, this is the main process of shooting the video. If you have a voiceover in it, this is where you record it. And the lighting is the major process of it, because if you cannot see someone, there is no point in making a video if you're shooting it. Beyond that, a voiceover or a good audio quality is preferable, because again, if no one can hear you, what's the point in making that video? And preferably if you can add a few elements, a flavor, different camera angles, all that goes into the production side of it. Beyond that, the last and the final stage, you could say, that makes and combine the whole process is the post-production, where the editing goes, the graphics, the subtitling, the color correction, all of that goes into this part. This may feel daunting at first, but these are the 3 major steps, and you don't need anything as such professional. You can use mostly simple tools and they will work just fine. I'll move along with that. So making the best tools at your arm length. Your creativity is all you need. The main part of all of this process is your mind. The mind will allow you to, you could say, improvise in terms of scripting, in terms of shooting, in terms of editing. And again, everyone of us has a phone right now. Usually they have a decent video quality and an audio quality, and they work pretty decently in a, you could say, low light situations right now. I wouldn't recommend using low light situations. If it's possible, shoot in natural light, daylight, usually early morning, or you could say during sunset, that is known as the golden hour, early morning and the sunset time. These times are usually the best to shoot a video because the light is diffused, there are no harsh shadows, and basically it will look much more presentable. Try to not shoot in a windy situation if it's possible. And if you're shooting indoors, make sure you have a good lighting around you, because you are primarily shooting on a video, on a phone. And finally, the editing part. If you have a decent laptop, you can use that. If you have a phone, there are apps that you can also use. And we'll move along to the editing part right now. So there are mainstream and professional video editing tools. We'll start with the free and the mainstream parts. One is InShot and one is InVideo. InShot is app-based and InVideo is Chrome-based, so you can use it on your any kind of web browser. It will work just fine. You don't need a decent laptop or anything. As long as you are able to have a browser, all of it work on the cloud. And both of these softwares have pre-made templates, so you can use that also. And they are also free. The only caveat being that both of them will have a watermark in the free situation. So it's up to you if you want to pay a premium on this. But I will suggest, if you're going into this, try with the InVideo one. And we now come to the premium tools. These are like the industry grade standards that we use. The first one is DaVinci Resolve. It's PC only. All of these premium softwares are only for computers or a laptop. If you have one, they will only work on that. They will have no version of the phone. If they have one, it's very bare minimum. And basically, I wouldn't recommend using those. So DaVinci Resolve is totally free software and it's industry level. All the filmmaking editing is done on this one software. And Premiere Pro and Sony Vegas are subscription based or one-time payment. But if you are going for a computer editing version, I would suggest you go for a DaVinci Resolve. Now, the learning curve of all of these softwares is pretty intense, especially the premium ones. But the caveat is, as professional you get, the more creative freedom you get. For example, in InShot or in InVideo, you have to work around the basic templates of its own. If you want a special graphic, if you want a special logo, you cannot make them because you have to work on its limitations. They are mostly single timeline. That means you cannot add much music tracks, you cannot add much graphics to it. All of it's very, very limiting. Sony Vegas, that's in the middle, is a sweet spot for it. But again, it's mostly a prosumer level of software. Then comes Premiere and DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci, as I said, is the film level of software. It has a learning curve, but in my personal opinion, I would definitely recommend you go for DaVinci. And beyond this, if you have a phone or your computer is slower, I would say you can go for InShot or InVideo, which brings me to my next slide. InVideo is the mainstream sweet spot because you can work it on any kind of web browser. It doesn't matter if you have a basic web browser laptop, you can use InVideo totally. You can find the link in in my presentation. You can click on it and eventually you'll learn how it works. InShot and InVideo, both of them have, you could say, tutorials, step-by-step tutorials in their apps and their web browser app. So you can easily learn them. Beyond this, in terms of the pro sweet spot, if you want actually high production value in terms of a video, if you want that, I am not limited right now because you see, there will be a learning curve in an InShot and InVideo and also in a DaVinci Resolve. It's about, you could say, which one your mind wants to work with eventually. Because DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro and all of those will allow you to expand your horizons in a long term much better. You won't be limited with the templates, all you will be limited with will be your creativity. And DaVinci Resolve comes with its own templates also free installed in it, and it doesn't have any kind of watermark. So that is a big pro. Obviously, it requires a computer, and I know many of us would not have a decent enough computers or a laptop to work with it. But if it's possible, I would definitely recommend a DaVinci Resolve. Things to keep in mind while making such video. Find a hook. So first point is the most crucial point of making any video. You have to find a hook. What do you want to send a message? If you want to send a message or information, how will you present it? In a story, because in terms of Indian audience, usually that works in the best way possible. And conceptualizing beforehand you shoot. You have to know in your mind where you have to shoot, which location near to you, if it's a room, if it's a living room in your house, if it's a rooftop, which one will work best for you. And build a video around that. Beyond that, don't stick with the script and improvise. For example, if you have written an in-depth script of I'm going to make this video and you have memorized that script day in and day out, when the time comes to shoot the video, it won't work. You will freeze because the first thing coming up in your mind will be the script and not the video itself. So I will suggest don't always stick to the script. Have a few pointers and if you want to improvise with it. And finally, your personality will sell your content. If you have seen any YouTuber or a gaming YouTuber of anything like that, you would know that people firstly come there to see their personality and then their content itself. Because they want a personal touch to it, they want to be relatable to that person, and the best way is to look human and be as humane as possible in your videos. And a few production things to keep in mind would be the lighting itself. As you can see in the example, a bad lighting of a good lighting, the least amount of shadows that you can have in your light, the better. As diffused it is, the better, because then you will look more welcoming to the audience itself. If you have a lot of shadows, you will look much more menacing. You must have seen in the crime shows, many of the times the villains and all are shown in darker lighting with darker shadows. That's to present a menacing look. And heroes are usually shown in a much flatter and a much welcoming light, as you can see. So I will definitely recommend, if you are shooting, try to shoot outdoors or at least some place that has a decent enough lighting and that matches your skin tone also. And lastly, the backdrop, because what people are seeing behind you also matters. As you can see behind me also, I have a basic set dressing backdrop that lets you make them feel welcomed in your video. So remember, lighting matters and what's behind you also matters a lot. So these are a few stock video sources option. If you are not interested in shooting a video at all, and if you want sound musics and basic scripting and stock footage, so I have provided you the sources and you can use them. So yeah, that will be all. Thank you so much for giving me your time, and hopefully to see you soon.